John Gill, Nahum chapter 1, verse 7. Reading first from the King James Bible, quote, "The Lord is good and a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him," unquote. John Gill, quote, "The Lord is good to Israel," as the Targum adds, to Hezekiah and his people that betook themselves to him and put their trust in him, whom he defended and preserved from the king of Assyria, to whom he was dreadful and terrible, destroying his army in one night by an angel, and so delivered the king of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem from that terror that had seized them, and that danger they were exposed unto. And so the Lord is good in himself, in the perfections of his nature, in the works of his hands, in all his persons to his people, that fear him, trust in him, and seek him, and wait for him and on him. A stronghold in the day of trouble, or he is good for a stronghold. It was a day of trouble, rebuke, and blasphemy with Hezekiah and his people when they were besieged by the army of Sennacherib, king of Assyria, and had received from Rapshakin by his orders a railing and reproaching letter. And then the Lord was a stronghold to them, to whom they betook themselves, and he protected and defended them. The whole time of this life is a time of trouble to the saints, though it is but a day, a short time, in which they meet with much from their own corrupt hearts, and the sin that dwells in them, from Satan and his temptations, from carnal professors, their principles and practices, from a profane and professing world, and from the Lord himself, who sometimes lays his afflicting hand upon them, and hides his face from them, and yet he is their rock and their refuge, their strong tower, and a place of defense, where they find safety and plenty, in all their times of distress and want. And he knoweth them that trust in him, in his word, as the Targum, and they are such that know him, and are sensible of the vanity of all their objects of trust, who betake themselves to him for shelter and protection, lean and stay themselves upon him, and commit all unto him, and expect all from him. These they know. He knows and loves and has the strongest affection for. He approves of them and commends their faith and confidency. He takes notice of them, visits them, and makes himself known unto them, even their adversary. He owns and acknowledges them as his own, claims his right in them now, and will confess them hereafter, and he takes care of them that they perish not. Whoever else do, see Psalms chapter 1, verse 6. He knows the necessity of those that trust in him, as Jarki, who knows them for their good, takes care of them, provides for them, and watches over them, as Kimchi. The ancients formerly had their Notores, such as knew them and were their patrons and defenders, as when a Roman citizen was condemned to be worshipped or crucified in a province where he was not known, and claimed their Roman privileges. Such persons were his witnesses and advocates, and thus the Lord is represented as one that knows his people and is their patron and advocate. The goodness of God expressed in this text is set off with a foil from the terribleness of his wrath and vengeance against his enemies. Scripture, quote, "The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trust in him," unquote. King James Version. End of John Gill, Nahum chapter 1, verse 7.